You're in the VIP section of Black Women in Radio, the podcast, a decade of the new woman. I'm your host, Felicia Love, along with our special guest, your girl, Nikki. Oh my goodness. Well, I have been following you for quite a while, and I have noticed your journey in radio before baby, and then with baby, and then with family, and now you're making this huge transition now, huge decision in your life with career and calling. So that's what I'm anxious to talk to you about today. Okay. But before we do that, tell me a little bit about your girl, Nikki.
I don't know. My husband is always like, when people ask you that, why do you always just say, I don't know? I'm like, because I don't know. I'm me, and I'm just, I kind of just, I follow my spirit. But if someone doesn't know me, I would say that I'm a youth mentor, community activist, radio personality, and mom.
Yeah. Love that. Love that. Now, how long have you been in the industry, in the radio industry?
15 years. I started as soon as, I hadn't even graduated college yet. And I interned one summer in Virginia. And then I came back to North Carolina to finish up school at Winston-Salem State. And then I got an internship at 102 Jams. And before, my intern supervisor, he left to go to PGC in DC. So before he left, his name is Rob Swinga. But before he left, he made sure that I was in position to get paid for what I was doing. So along with TAP money, they offered me my first part-time job. And this was before I graduated. I had like maybe 2-3 months left of school.
Wonderful. Now that is awesome. That's an awesome entry. So what happened after that? Give us a little snapshot of your career.
So it's a long snapshot.
That's okay. Most are.
So I got hired part-time at 102 Jams. I was hired to do overnights. I was doing production. Because when I came into radio, I started off as a production intern. I never wanted to be on air. I just wanted to do commercials and do the imaging, and that's it. But they were like, no, you sound really good. You should be on the radio. So I actually started at night doing like the celebrity news with Wile Coyote. I was there all day as an intern, and he saw me one day and was like, hey, you should come and be on my show. And I was like, all right, cool. I'm here anyway. So this was still working for free. So I started with Wile Coyote doing the nights. They hired me part-time overnights. I was doing production and imaging. And I knew that I wasn't going to get any further than that if I stayed. So I started to research different jobs and look at other opportunities. And I had applied for a midday position in New Bern, North Carolina. And maybe like 4 or 5 months went by. I didn't hear anything. I didn't really think anything about it. And the program director, J-Dot, he called me and said, hey, I have a position, but it's not middays, it's nights. Would you be interested? And I'm like, yeah, let's do it. I ain't doing nothing else. Let's go for it. Yeah. So he was like, okay, well, your salary's going to be, I think it was like maybe $25,000 or something like that in like 2007, 2008 area, year. And I was like, all right, that's cool. Like, I'm good with that. So I ended up moving to New Bern to do nights. They changed my name. My name was something crazy at 102 because I had to have like this hip name, but I'll share it. It was 900 Rhonda.
900 Rhonda. Now, where did they get that from?
It kind of plays, I'll never tell my real name, but it kind of plays into my real name.
Okay, gotcha.
And the 900 came from because they said I sounded like a sex operator.
I'm sorry, I don't need to laugh out loud, but I've been told the same thing. And, you don't know how to take that. It's like, what?
Like, I was like, okay. And when I listened to my old air checks, I did have like I'm just starting out. I don't really know my voice yet. So I'm like, hey guys, So that was my name. So when I moved to New Bern, they were totally against that name. because it's the Bible Belt. And so they're like, you got to get rid of it. Give us another name. So at my internship in Virginia, they called me Nikki Cole because my middle name is Nicole. So I said, okay, let's go with Nikki Cole. That's my name. So we sent off to have the drops done. And the guy that did the drops said Nikki Nicole the day before I started. And I was like, look, let's just roll with it. Nikki Nicole, it don't matter, whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever, let's just go. So that's how I got the name Nikki Nicole, because the drop guy messed it up. So Nikki Nicole was born. I did nights at Kiss 102 in New Bern. And probably like within 4 months of working, another PD called me on the request line. And he's like, oh my gosh, you sound so good. I got this friend and he's about to do these big things. And I really want to pass your stuff on to him. And I was like, all right, cool, let's do it. And so maybe like a year later, the guy called me, and his name is J Tech, still one of my greatest friends to this day. He called me and said, I'm going to Augusta. I heard you on the radio and I want you to come do middays. And I said, all right, let's go. So a year into KISS, I left literally the same day that I got hired. It was the like Memorial Day weekend. And I left. My program director had got fired, and it was kind of a tough situation where I didn't know what was going on. The APD she was pretty mean. She was not someone that I wanted to work for long term. So it made the decision easy to move to Augusta.
Yeah. And
a lot of my friends after that, they left because of the situation there. And I even told my GM, I said, look, your team is only as good as your leader. So as long as she's in charge, you're going to have good people leaving constantly, consistently leaving. And it happened year after year. Good people were just leaving, and she was always the reason.
And it's amazing. Isn't it amazing how people stay in those positions, even after you tell upper management?
Like, what do you have on them? Like, do you have some type of drama, like some type of good gossip that they don't want out? But I just never understood it. And I said, it's not for me to understand. I'm just going to go my separate ways.
Right.
And so I left there. I went to Augusta. I was in Augusta, Georgia for about maybe 2 years, I want to say. I move around a lot, as you can see.
Well, most of us do. I feel like a gypsy.
Yeah, that's what they always said about me. You're like a gypsy. They're like, you're never going to stay any place. I'm like, why? Yes. If I have an opportunity and it's a growing opportunity, why should I stay in the same market for 10, 15, 20 years?
The adventure is so much fun. It really is fun. I love that element.
Yeah, you get to meet new people. I mean, that's what it was about for me, just meeting new people. It did get kind of difficult because every time I had to move, I had to re-sew everything that I had just done at the last location.
Yes.
So from Greensboro to New Bern to Augusta, I got there and I did middays. It was a family-owned company. Quite an experience. It was my first family-owned company that I had worked for, and I wasn't I learned a lot about God at that station. Let's just say that. I learned a lot about how to pray before I got in the building, and how to just kind of keep my mouth shut. But I was like a real firecracker when I was young. And even people tell me stories now about me past radio, and I'm like, I did that? Person out. Like, my homeboy was like, you remember that day that the sales rep said something to you and you walked outside and you was cursing him out? I was like, I did that? I don't remember that. So like, wow. So I get to Augusta, Georgia. I love working there. The people that I work with were great. It was another situation where another female was in charge. It was a lady named Sheila Eldridge, who I love. She does Cafe Mocha Radio. She's the owner of that. She was amazing. She was part owner of the company when I first got hired, and we had so many ideas, and she couldn't take it, just like I ended up not being able to take it. So she left, so I was kind of there. J Tech was cool, but his boss was always like, me and her were always just like at like we always disagreed.
Yes.
And it just wasn't a middle ground. And I was kind of, after that, I said, you know what, I can't do this no more. And I just remember saying, God, I love radio, but I can't stay here. It's toxic. I can't be here anymore. And right about maybe a week later, it was on my birthday, my old program director from New Bern called me. And he said, hey, I got this opportunity and I think you would be really good for it. And I said, okay, what is it? He was like, there's a production manager position open for 3 stations in Raleigh for Radio 1. And I said, okay. I was like, will I be on the air? He's like, no, it's just production. I said, cool. Like, that was my goal when I first got into radio. So for me, I'm like, yes, yes, this is what I've been working for. So I was probably 25 at the time. And I sent my stuff off to Cy Young, who was the operations manager at the time. And it was so funny because when I sent my stuff in, he emailed me back and said, I need to hear what you can produce. I don't know who did this. And I said, what do you mean? I did that. I produce. Like, I do this. Like, I'm a beast at production. Like, I like to say I'm one of the greatest female production imaging people in radio because I know my stuff and I really work hard. And I said, I did that. He's like, no, it sounds like a guy. I said, what does that mean?
Right,
like,
exactly.
I don't get that. So he's like, okay, well, bet. Since you did it, go on the website, put together a 60-second promo and send it back to me. Okay, I did it. And it was fire. And I got the job.
Love it.
And probably like, and it took a while. So from September 2nd, my birthday, he didn't call me back until December, almost like Christmas. And he called me out the blue, wasn't expecting him to call me because it, you know, with radio, you just don't know sometimes.
You do not.
You think they like you and you thinking it's good and then you never hear from them or you hear from them.
Yeah.
So he
or you hear your stuff after the fact, but we'll get into it later. Yeah. Like, wait a minute, didn't I do?
Yeah, I'm like, what's up? And it was so crazy because he calls me and he's like, hey, can you start Monday? And I'm like, dude, it's like Wednesday. What do you mean can I start Monday? And I was just like, yeah, sure, why not? So I walked in and I gave my my boss, J-Tech, had got fired. So I was really to the point where I was ready to go because the person that I really trusted and was loyal to, he was gone. So I really didn't feel like a need to be there. So I walked in, I handed her my 2-week notice. And as I was walking back to my studio, I said, you know what? I'm not working 2 weeks. I'm out. Like, I'm just out. And I left. And she called me on the phone maybe like 5 minutes later and was like, where did you go? You need to work out this 2 weeks. I said, I'm good. I'm gone. I don't need a reference from you ever.
Right.
Ever, ever, ever. So I'm good. I'm gone. Out. So
it's amazing how you feel when you're ready to go. No one can talk you out of it. When you're ready, it's like, I can't give you 5 more minutes. And that's on any job. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
I had, me and her, she had kicked me off the radio in the middle of me doing a break one time. It was all type of just.
It's crazy.
It was crazy. It was definitely an experience, but I was just like, nah, I gotta go. So I left, packed up my crib that weekend, and my mom actually lives like an hour or 2 away, hour and 30 minutes away from Raleigh. So I actually moved back in with my parents for like maybe 6 months because it was so sudden that I had to move. So I get to Raleigh. I'm loving it. I was there 3 years. While I was in Raleigh, I met my husband. And my husband and I actually met when I was at 102 when I first started in radio.
Oh, how about that? Full circle, huh?
Crazy, right? So I always had like this big crush on him. And he was an artist when I was working at 102, and I always liked him, and we always kind of like flirted, like, when we going out? When we going out? La, la, la. But we never like went out, never talked anything. So I moved to Raleigh. The first weekend I moved to Raleigh, I went to a party with some artists that I knew and, just trying to get back in the scene. I'm going to be here. I had planned on being in Raleigh really for a long term. So he was in front of me at the club. And I was like, oh my gosh, where you been? So we just kind of like talked the entire night. And we started dating probably like 6 months after that. And when I met him, I knew God And I grew up in the church, but I had gotten so far away from God from, I think, just being in radio, being immersed in the world of, drinking, drugs, partying, cursing, just doing whatever you wanted to do. So he introduced me to God.
Thank you so much for laying it out, because I was going to ask you, what does it mean to be away from God? What does that feel like?
It feels like your whole life is over sometimes. Like, it feels like you can't get a hold of, it's like you just feel something's missing, and something's missing, but you keep replacing it with worldly stuff, thinking that that's going to give you the feeling that you need, but truly it's God that's missing.
Amazing.
And so he introduced me to God. When we met, he's like, I don't want to sleep with you. I don't want to do none of that. I just want to get to know you. And I'm like,
wow. Yes. Okay. What?
Okay. And I told him, like, within a couple months of us dating, I was like, I'm going to marry you. We're going to have a baby and everything. He was like, you crazy. I was like, no, I love you. So he just, he would read his Bible, at night. I would see him praying. And I just started like reading more. I started to watch Joyce Meyer. That was like my go-to to gain clarity on God. And so in the midst of this, I'm still at the radio station, and I'm hosting parties every weekend. I'm talking like Friday, Saturday, Sunday night in the club. And then Monday through Saturday, I'm doing production for 3 stations. And just going hard and working, and I'm getting burnt out, and I'm in the club telling people to get drunk while I'm on my phone with my Bible app trying to read scriptures at the same time, like literally. And the bartenders even noticed what I was doing, and 2 bartenders quit the club because they saw the changes in me. It was just like amazing. So one day I was like, I can't do this no more. And I said, something's missing from my life, and it's not in this building. It's not with these people. It's not in this environment. And I walked in, I gave my boss my 2-week notice. And everybody was like, where are you going? I was like, I don't know. I'm just going wherever God tells me to go.
Wow. And talk about stepping out on faith.
Listen, let me tell you. And I was making good money in Raleigh. When I did my taxes that last year, I had like $67,000.
Wow.
And I was making money from, my production job, the clubs, the endorsements, and people were mad because they're like, you're not even on the radio. How you getting the clubs and endorsements, and you only filling in for people and doing like little weekends here and there?
Right.
And I was like, I don't know. Like, I don't know. It's just, I don't know. So, I gave all of that up, and God kept pushing me to do something positive. And I'm like, okay, God, but what am I supposed to do? So I think this is probably when Love and Hip Hop and all that stuff started. And I just wanted to see something positive on TV. So we created
Hello. Right? Oh my gosh. We've got enough dysfunction in the world. Can we talk about our real struggles in trying to be better people? Oh my goodness. I would love to. Oh my God. Don't put me on the soapbox, but I am so glad that path is speaking to you, because our entire community, the whole world needs more positivity. We already know what it feels like to feel like trash. Help me try to figure out this voice that I hear that says you're not in the right spot. You need to do something more positive. You need to elevate yourself. Help me tap into that voice. Thank you. I'm sorry. I'm done with my soapbox. Go ahead, Nikki.
So we created a television show, and it was called For Dreamers Only. So with the connections that I had, I said, okay, we can shoot. The purpose of the show was to show Black entrepreneurs, go to their businesses, let them tell their stories of, the struggling that they did to, open their business, where they're at now, and just kind of gain promotion for them to get more people to come to their business. Yeah. So we started off with the girl that did my hair. She had her own business. I had a DJ friend who started off, passing out mix CDs at football games, and he's Future's DJ to this day. So just different people like that. And we didn't really have any money. I didn't say, I wasn't good at saving money because I was always like, oh, I'm gonna have a job. It's just gonna come to me all the time. I never thought about saving. At the time, my husband was on the road and he would set up in different malls and different flea markets, and he would sell his music. And he would sell movies with another director that he was working with at the time.
Okay.
So he and the director fell out. And I said, you know what? Me and you can do this. We'll go on the road together and we'll set up in the mall. And he was like, but you don't have a product. And that's where I showed him what I had written down about the TV show. And he said, okay, well, let's do it. Neither one of us knew anything about shooting. But we had like $600 and we went and bought a camera. And we were like, okay, we're going to buy this camera, shoot what we need to shoot, and then take it back to the store because it's like 2 weeks before we got to restock it. So we bought the camera. And we went and he shot everything for my show. He edited everything, knew nothing about how to edit, none of that. We did a DVD cover, pressed it up. His cousin had a like 20 disc pressing machine. So we pressed up all these DVDs. We ended up keeping the camera, got married that same year that I quit my job. So that was a stress in itself. And I quit in May. I quit May 10th, 2013. We got married September 20th, 2013. And then I packed up our entire apartment probably that next year, like in June when my lease was up. Packed everything up. We put everything in like 2 suitcases. We went on the road. Went to Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, California, just me, him, a Chevy Impala, 2 suitcases, and a laptop and a computer, a Mac computer, so that we can continue to edit and shoot while we were on the road, different stories of people. So we set up in the malls and all these locations. We would set up for 10 days at a time. So it'll be 10 days in one mall, then we'll break. And since we didn't have anywhere to go, we would just stay in whatever city we were in for like 2 or 3 days and then drive to the next city.
Yes.
And so we did this from like we did it in 2013 because we were like back and forth because we still had the apartment in Raleigh and we were still getting married. So we had to come back. But we did this from 2013 to probably 2016.
What kind of bride were you?
Huh?
What kind of bride were you with all of that going on?
A very stressed out bride. I had, it was so crazy. I had stopped taking birth control pills and my face exploded with cystic acne. Like before my wedding.
No, say it's not so.
It was so bad. I was like, I do not want to get married looking like this. Like even to this day, I cringe looking at my wedding pictures because we had to put so much makeup on my face. And it was like, it was on top of, not taking the birth control no more, to being stressed out, to, it was days that we couldn't eat. We were staying in hotels, and I ain't talking about no Marriott. We were staying in like Value Place and stuff that I don't even know the name of.
Yes.
And, it's people outside doing drug deals. They might be fighting at night. It might be a room that don't look too clean. Mm-hmm. It was nothing nice.
Wow.
And it was
a lot of stress.
Yeah, it was a lot. It was me and him, and he was stressed. My mom is on the other end, like, you're stupid. Why you quit your job? This is the dumbest thing you could have did. You had a perfectly good job in insurance and blah, blah, blah.
Yes.
Like, I can't take it. I'm wearing the same outfits every day, wearing it for a week, washing it at the hotel, wearing it the next week.
Right.
Like, it was serious.
That's huge sacrifice. Huge.
And I knew I had to do it, and I kept hearing, to whom much is given, much is required. And even when I quit my job, I had a dream, and that came to me in a dream. And the first mall that we set up in, this guy walks up to me and he's like, to whom much is given, much is required. And I'm like,
wow.
Okay, I see where you're going. So it was like, it probably was the best time in my life though, looking back on it now. Mm-hmm. Like, it was freedom, it was free spirit movements, it was God in the midst, it was trusting in him, it was not being on social media, because I may post every now and then, but everybody was like, what are you doing? Like, where are y'all at? Y'all in Mississippi. Like, what are y'all doing in Jackson, Mississippi, and Tupelo, Mississippi, and Pensacola, Florida? We were in places that people never even wanted to visit type places.
Yes.
But it was like so amazing. Like, it was the best experience of my life. And there was so many people that sowed seeds into us. This pastor that we met, it's like God took care of us each step of the way. One time we were in this mall and it was really slow. And I was like, man, what are we going to do about food tonight? Because we ain't really made any money. So this guy comes to the booth, him and his wife are talking to us, and he's like, just talking and like, y'all should come over to dinner. You know, I'm a chef. I got a restaurant in the city. Let us cook for you guys. And we were like, okay. And people probably think we crazy, but we ended up staying at their house for like 3 nights.
Wow. Wow.
And we felt like disciples almost, like we were just roaming and people would invite us into their homes with their kids and we would eat with them and worship with them and fellowship with them. And then we'd be off to the next city.
That's what they call God is providing every step of the way. That's what it looks like. And let me stop you for just a moment. For those people who are listening and watching, you know, we never know what our path is going to be. And it always looks absolutely ridiculous to whoever's on the outside looking in. So whether it's radio or, you know, leaving your C-suite, you know, position or, you know, getting rid of your business or dropping out of school, whatever it is, all of us have a path. And although Nikki's path, and she's laying it out as to how it happened for her, and thank you so much for sharing so much of yourself with us. Although Nikki's laying out her path, I can totally relate. You know, mine was a little different, but I could totally relate to instances where people are looking at me like, what the hell are you doing? You know, did you really just do that to do this? Yeah, so please go ahead. But I just don't want people to judge the tone of one story and not look at the whole purpose of why we're doing this for Black Women in Radio as a platform, is so that you can draw some nuggets out of your circumstances and see how another person has overcome. So yes, but this is tremendous because you are literally laying out what it feels like to be an entrepreneur and to travel from city to city, not knowing what your next step is, where your next help is, but you know your path. And I think that's the key, knowing that you are being led through your path. You know that that's your path. So you can't lose with that. Okay, so please continue.
So it was like every city we went to, it was always, God would always show up. Either by someone that, you know, approached us at the booth or someone that bought from us. I remember one time being in Florence, South Carolina, and it was during school, back to school. So people were just passing us by really fast because they're like, on their mind, they got clothes and shoes for these kids and that's all they need. Yes. They didn't need no TV show. They don't need no CDs, no nothing.
That's how I shop.
Right. You know what I mean? No. So this lady comes to the booth and she just stops and she's talking to me and she's telling me that she had just left her dad's funeral. And she's like, I don't want to buy anything from you, but here. And she gives me $100.
How about that?
I didn't ask, like, you know, I kind of could sense that something was wrong because she kind of was like just walking like through the mall, like slowly. Mm-hmm. So I was like, she's not really here to buy anything, but she was just like, oh, what do y'all have? And she was like, I just want to sow a seed. And so every city we went to, I knew that God like was always there before us preparing the way. Even we went to Mississippi, and when we got to this spot in Mississippi, me and my husband were like, man, we don't have the rent to pay the mall to get in here. It was like $500 or $1,000 or something like that. And so we get to the mall, we're talking to the mall manager, and he's like, hey guys, you know, I really like you. So, you know, don't worry about paying me any booth rent till like Monday. Don't even worry about it for the weekend. And we're like, really? Like, and we knew we had to go to this city. Like, it was on the list to go. And we're like, we're going to go. And even when we got there, you know, I'm cleaning out the booth and I find this book, The Prayer of Jabez. And it's just, you know, I'm reading. I'm like, you know, I know that it's God. And
I call those synchronicities. I call those synchronicities. It's like one after another. It's something that God's spirit, whatever you subscribe to, lets you know that you're on your path. I want to
Yes.
also challenge people who are listening and watching to think about the last time they were led to do something and, you tried to talk yourself out of it. But look how Nikki has been blessed. Someone walked up to her, gave her $100. It's like, what? That happened to me. I was led to give away my washer and dryer. It was like a year old. And I was like, are you kidding me? I'm not, no. And I happened to be at the laundromat to dry this huge comforter because, of course, my dryer wasn't that large. As it turned out, I'm fighting. I promise you, as I'm approaching this lady, I'm saying in my head, you are crazy as hell. What are you getting ready to do? Why? You got 2 kids. You got, you're taking care of your mom.
Right.
Why on earth would you? So I walked to her and I asked her, do you need a washer? Would you like a washer and dryer? I'm selling mine. Would you like yours? The lady almost dropped on her knees. She happened to have been a single mom, 6 children, just moved to Atlanta from New York, and was in dire need of everything. And I ended up selling her a lot of stuff that I didn't need out of my house. So, listen to that voice that tells you, bless somebody else, because the blessing is needed. The blessing is needed. Wow, this is huge. Go, Nikki, go. More.
So it's just so many stories of, ways that God showed up. I remember we were in Hattiesburg, Mississippi, and again, not doing too good. Now, some cities we did really good. It was kind of like a hit and miss. It was a gamble. We had to gamble with what we had and, our energy and stuff to sell the product so that we could, because a lot of times we didn't have a hotel room. We would just make whatever we could make, get the hotel room, get our food at the end of the night.
Yes.
But we were in Hattiesburg, Mississippi, and it was just slow for some reason. So these guys had a booth a couple spaces down from us, and they had crosses that they had handmade. It was a guy that, it was a home for like men that were recovering addicts. Mm-hmm. And they made these beautiful crosses. I wish I had one. We got them all over the house upstairs, but they would make these crosses. So they were leaving a couple days before us, and they came over and said, here, we want you to have the rest of our product to sell it and make some money off of it. Mm-hmm. So we had like 3-4 boxes of just crosses. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is such a blessing. And they were like, people were buying them because they were so beautiful. And I remember this lady walks through the mall, this older Black lady, and something was like, give her that cross. So I was kind of like, man, I don't know if I'm really hearing it. I don't know. I'm not just about to walk up to this lady like, here's the cross, God.
Right.
And so I'm like, well, okay, God, if she walks back by leaving, I'll give it to her, but not right now. Mm-hmm. So she walks back by and I'm like, I gotta give it to her. So I walk up to her and I said, ma'am, I don't know you, but God wants me to give you this cross. And she just breaks down crying.
Amazing story.
She looks at the cross, and I think it was a scripture about faith and walking in faith, not by sight. And she looks at me and she says, I pray this every morning.
Amazing.
And
absolutely chilling.
And she just kept holding my hand and was like, thank you so much. Like, I've been praying for my son, and I pray this every single morning. Oh. And her daughter is like, how did you know to give this to her? And I was like, God just told me to give it to her. And I had to obey and give it to her. And it was so many situations like that. And it was just, me and my husband, we still talk about the road today because, like I said, it was some of the best times that we had. It was just me and him. Mm-hmm. We got a chance to know each other, to grow together, to be with each other literally 24/7. It's just me and him. Yeah. And it was other people that would come on the road with us. His cousin might come out for a trip or two, or his sister may come out for a trip or two. But for the most part, it was just me and him. So it got to the point where I was like, this ain't it no more. We were both feeling like this is not it. We got to expand or do something different. So we moved back to North Carolina. We ended up, I think, staying with his aunt. We stayed on his mom's floor a couple nights, stayed with his aunt for like 2 months. And as we were staying with his aunt, I said, I know this ain't it.
Yes.
We got to go.
Yes.
I love her, but this ain't it. I need my own space. We've been on the road for like 3 years now. It's time to get our own space.
Yes.
So we literally had $500, and I got on Craigslist. I don't even know if people still use Craigslist, but I get on Craigslist and I'm looking at hotel rooms for rent. So we find a hotel room for the entire month in Fayetteville, North Carolina for $500.
Wow.
And I said, this is us. We got to go. Mm-hmm. So he was like, all right, let's go to Fayetteville. I don't know anybody in Fayetteville. I knew one person, Tap Money, the guy that hired me at 102 when I first started radio. So I called him and I said, hey, I'm moving to Fayetteville. And he was like, all right, you want a job? I was like, sure, let's do it. So I got the job. As soon as we moved to Fayetteville, I was working part-time, and I said, okay, we got a month to stay in this hotel. I'm going to work part-time. My husband went back to the studio. His cousin had opened up this really big studio in Greensboro, and he needed some help. So he's like, I'm going to go work with my cousin in Greensboro. You work in Fayetteville, and we can somehow get enough money to get a apartment. So it came time for us to leave the hotel. I still hadn't found an apartment, but I went back on Craigslist, and they had the same $500 deal. And even the people at the hotel were like, how do y'all keep getting this deal? Like, we have to give it to y'all. I'm like, y'all got it on Craigslist. And they didn't even know. I was like, look, you got to give it to us. It's right here.
Right.
So they're like, all right. So we ended up staying there 2 months. We got an apartment, and we stayed in Fayetteville maybe like a year. Oh, but before we went to Fayetteville, I'll be forgetting. There'd be so much stuff, girl.
I love it.
Moved to Fayetteville when we was at his mom's house. He had his homeboy had came back around. He lived in Atlanta, and he had a CD distribution company where, you know, if you go to the gas station, you see mixed CDs.
Yes.
Sometimes. Mm-hmm. So his homeboy is like the biggest distributor of that. So he said, man, I need some help. So I'm sitting in his mom's house, and I remember this day so vividly. I was sitting there, and I was just so stressed. I was so depressed. I was writing in my journal, and I said, I'm sitting in his mother's house. And I think it was like our 1 or 2 year anniversary. And I said, this is not how I planned on spending my anniversary. I'm sitting here and I'm watching Wendy Williams. This cannot be life. And I was so mad, and I was stressed, and I was depressed. And he called me and said, hey, he went to Atlanta to, you know, meet with his homeboy. And he called me and said, what you think about moving to Atlanta? And I was like, all right, let's go. We moved to Atlanta. And his homeboy is such a blessing, and he still is to our life. But we moved to Atlanta, and we didn't have anywhere to stay. And he said, y'all stay with me. I got this house. Like, you know, I got a room downstairs. Y'all can have that. Like, I don't care. Like, whatever. This is y'all house. It's my house and y'all's house.
I love it.
So we ended up moving in with him. He didn't want any rent. He didn't want any money for bills. He said, as long as y'all help me with my business, we even. And that's it.
How about that?
I was like, cool. So we ended up staying in Atlanta for a couple months with him. And we still were traveling on the road back and forth, even after we said, this is it. And so I said, you know what, let's just go back to Atlanta and try it out. So his homeboy had moved at the time and had got an apartment because the house was too much by himself. He had 1-bedroom apartment. And we moved back to Atlanta. J-Tech was in Atlanta at this time, my PD from Augusta. Mm-hmm. So I called him and said, hey, I'm in Atlanta. And he was like, word, let's do lunch. I said, no, I live here now. And he was like, you want a job? I was like, yeah, sure. I started working at Streets in Atlanta part-time. And I was like, okay, this is cool. You working with your homeboy. I'm back on the radio. Everybody's looking like, how do you just keep popping up with these radio jobs? Like, we out here struggling to get a radio job, and you just always got one. I was like, look,
exactly.
Good connections, you know, and I believe it's God's favor. Thank you, sweetheart. Say hey.
Hello.
So we stayed in Atlanta for a while. And his homeboy again was like, y'all don't have to get an apartment. I'll give y'all my room. I'll sleep on the couch.
Oh, wow.
And he did this for maybe like a year. And I was like, this is like,
yes.
thank you, God. Like, because he didn't have to do that.
Absolutely. Yes.
But
Yes.
he never came. He would even, it was so funny because he would even knock on his bedroom door and be like, yo, can I come in and get something real quick? I'm like, dude, this is your house. Like, yeah, you good. Like, and he was just like, nah, man, it's y'all room. Like, y'all good. Like, he went and bought sheets, blankets, like nice hotel blankets and stuff for us. And it was just amazing.
That's incredible.
You know? So we had, the thing at Streets didn't work out for me. I was looking for a full-time position and it just didn't work out. The money wasn't adding up to be in Atlanta. So that's when we moved back, and then we ended up in Fayetteville. While I was at Fayetteville, I was there for maybe like a year, maybe 2, and Charlotte opened up. And so what I didn't tell you in the beginning, before I got to 102, I would always send Uzi D my air check. And I would send it in a manila envelope on a CD with my resume inside. And I would call him every day. And at the time, Uzi was in Fayetteville. And I was in Winston-Salem. And I would call him every day like, hey, you get it? Did you get it? Did you get my air check? And he was like, stop calling me, girl. You call me every day. Stop calling me. And I was like, yo, I need an internship. And I wasn't even looking for a job. I was looking for an internship.
How about that?
And he was like, you're in Winston. You cannot drive to Fayetteville every day to intern. I was like, look, I'm just trying to get it in. Like, whatever.
Yeah.
So he's like, I don't know you, never met you, but I got some connects at 102. Call this number. Tell them you know me. And tell them that you want an internship. And that's how I got my internship at 102 through Uzi D.
Love it.
And when I was in Fayetteville, I worked for Beasley Media in Fayetteville, and we had this big job posting board, and I noticed that they had a production position open in Charlotte for Beasley. And I was like, okay, this is kind of my way back into radio full time because I need some money. And it was a decision that I want to say that I didn't fully consult God on. Mm-hmm. It was a decision that I made because I was getting tired of kind of being broke all the time. And I kind of missed the fame of radio, and I think people in radio, they want that attention sometimes, like, oh, I want to be like this big name in the city, blah, blah, blah. And I missed it. But I was like, I wanted to go, and the position was production, which I hated after Raleigh. I said, I never want to do production again, ever, ever, ever. And I was like, but I'm going to go to Charlotte and do it and just get my foot in the door because I know something will happen. Yeah. So Uzi D happened to be the PD in Charlotte. So
Uzi D!
It's like every station I've been to.
I've never seen him before, but in my head, I picture him with this big S on his chest. Uzi D. No, I'm kidding. He's like Superman.
He's like a Superman. He's like real, buttoned up. If he ever sees this, he's going to be like, word. But he's like really like so professional. And he's always like, what are you doing? Don't do that. Oh my goodness. Like, he's real proper, very straightforward. And so I was like, man, I don't want to do production. And at the time I was in Fayetteville, it was a really spiritual time for me. And I knew God was calling me to do my prayer line, and he was calling me to preach these sermons that I had written. And I even had this huge prayer closet. That's the one thing I loved about our apartment in Fayetteville. I had this huge walk-in closet in the other room, but it was just a prayer closet. No clothes, no nothing in it. Mm-hmm. And it was just, everything on the wall, my goals, my talks with God.
I think everybody needs one. Everyone needs one. I mean, when you have a space like that to go to, it is so grounding. Life can be happening all around you, but if you have a space where you can get away from everything and everybody, just to be quiet, to read or to meditate or just to sit and be still, it is a huge blessing. Yes.
And I had hooked it up too, girl. I had like fur blankets, fur pillows.
Ooh, I love it.
I would just go in there and I would just lay down and talk to God and just, just meditate. And I had been asking him, I said, God, it's a position open in Charlotte. And I want to take it. I don't know if you want me to take it or not. And I kind of like made my own rules. Like, well, if the door opens, God, I'm gonna just go through it and just say that you open that door for me. Mm-hmm. And so when I got to Charlotte to interview, the first thing Uzi said was, are you going to quit? And I was like, you know me too well, don't you? And I said, no, I won't quit. I said, if you hire me I'll get whatever my contract is, I'll give you those 2 years and I won't leave. And he said, okay, so I don't have a production position open. I have a night position. Do you want it? And I was like, I'm a little older. I don't know if I want to be doing night, 7 to midnight. Right. And I said, let's try it out. So he, gave me an audition. A lot of people auditioned for it. And he ended up calling me back. And I auditioned in December. He ended up calling me back maybe like February. It was right before CIAA. And he offered the job to me. And I was like, okay, let's do it. I'm going to take it. And he was like, don't quit on me.
Right,
do not quit. Because I know you. If you're not happy and the spirit hits you, you're going to leave. I said, you know me, brother, but I got you. You got me 2 years. I'm going to give you 2 years. Uzi ended up leaving before my 2 years was up. But I still wanted to make sure that I worked out my 2 years. And
you know what? A woman of integrity, that is huge. That is so huge. We have gotten away from, we're really good at telling people what they need to do. And then we forget that we have to have integrity on our own and for ourselves. So I commend you for that. That's huge. Go ahead. I love this story. So, I'm all wrapped up in your world here.
It was really good. Like I can't lie. Like Power 98, I had a lot of fun doing nights. For me, it was kind of a place to call home because I had moved so much. And I said, you know what, God, I'm still not sure if you want me to be here, but I'm going to use this platform to do some good with it. I'm not just going to be here to be on the radio, to go to parties and this and that. And so I started my youth program while I was here for my girls. I started to go out to eat lunch with them every day at the middle schools. They come over to my house to do sleepovers. And I also started my homeless initiative where I went out. The first night I went out, it was like 20 degrees at 10 o'clock at night. And we handed out blankets and
I saw that on social media.
And socks. So I said, God, I'm going to use this for you. And so it was probably December and I was doing the clubs like every Saturday, and December came and God said, no more club, no more. And I said, I'm on the radio. I can't just tell them I can't do club broadcasts. That's how they make their money. Like I have a contract. And I'm thinking to myself, God is like, yeah, you got a contract with me too. Like, who's first, man or me? Like, which one? So I went to Uzi, and this is before he had left, and I said, I can't do the club anymore. And he was like, why? I said, I just can't do the club anymore. I don't, when God tells me something, I don't feel like I need to explain to people. It just is what it is. You either accept it or you don't. So I stopped doing the club in December. I had started, when I got back to Charlotte, the negatives of Charlotte, I started to drink again. I started to party a lot. Me and my husband kind of like, we weren't as together as we were. I was always out. He was always out. We didn't talk anymore. And that's when I started to feel like, I don't think this is from God. I don't think this is the opportunity. This is what God wants me to do. And it almost felt like me and him were on the verge of like divorcing because it was just like, we weren't connected anymore. We didn't argue. We just didn't talk to each other.
You could feel it.
Like in the same house in 2 different worlds.
Yes.
You know, I got what I got going on. He's at the studio. He's got a group that he's managing now. And I'm living my life. I'm back on the radio. I'm back feeling myself, smelling myself. You know, I'm thinking I'm all that again. And I'm like, this isn't me. What am I doing?
Yes.
And I think that's why, you know, at the end of the year, God is like, no. How do you come from a prayer closet to drinking? This don't go. I didn't took you on the road. You've traveled together. Y'all done been through so much together. Like, and then you go back to what you were trying to leave in the first place when you left Raleigh. So I stopped doing the club in December. I stopped drinking. And I just kind of fasted from a lot of things in the month of December. And I was like, okay, God, if you ask me to do this, I know something's going to be shown to me after all of this is over. So I'm just waiting and expecting. So January came, maybe like the first 3 weeks of January, I just felt really off. And I'm like, something ain't right, man. Like, I'm about to quit this job. Like, it's just something ain't right no more. I'm tired. I don't feel right. I don't like people. February happened, and I found out I was pregnant.
How about that? So change is going to happen one way or the other.
Yep. And so I knew it was God telling me to just rid myself of anything negative, any alcohol I was drinking, because he was preparing my body to birth something that I had never birthed before.
Yes.
And it was the day that I found out I was pregnant. My husband was like, I knew something was wrong because you was crying, talking about you wanted your mama and some chicken soup, and that ain't you. Like, I was like, oh, my mama, I want my mama. And so we were walking in the grocery store, and I was looking at this lady, and she was pregnant. I was like, what if I'm pregnant? And I was like, nah. Like, I had totally got rid of the idea that I was pregnant, because so many years I wanted to be pregnant, and I wasn't. Yes. I would buy 100 tests, and I'm like, oh, I'm not pregnant. So this time I was like, I can't be pregnant. So we didn't even buy a pregnancy test, and I went back home, and I said, nah, something ain't right. And I was like, go get me a pregnancy test. So we went and got it, and I took it, and I was pregnant. And then maybe like a week after that, I had like miscarriage symptoms. Mm-hmm. So I had bled a lot. Yes. And I was like, I've experienced it before. So I was like, I'm not pregnant anymore. And I thought I thought God was mad at me. I really did. I said, man, I messed up, man. I went back to the life that I shouldn't have been living, and you gave me something and you took it away. And I was real upset. And that same day I had to go to work when I thought I had miscarried, because mm-hmm. nobody knew but me and my husband and my sister-in-law and my cousin. And I was like, I don't want to go to work today, but I had to go to work. So I'm at work and I'm just mad. I'm just like, I don't want to be here. Like, I just had a whole miscarriage. Now, mind you, I didn't go to the doctor to confirm it. Right. Because I had been through it. So I was like, I know what it is. I don't need them to tell me. So the next couple of days, I still had my prenatal, my first appointment set up for March though. So the next couple of days, we were scheduled to go to LA for the BET Awards, my husband and I. So I was still sick, and I was like, I know I'm not pregnant. But I was like using the bathroom on the plane. I'm like, man, I got to go to the bathroom. Y'all got to move. Yeah. And I was like eating, and I was still throwing up. And I was like, are these like after scent? Like, what's going on with my body? So we get back from LA, and I'm still, sad and just really like not wanting to talk to people. And so my prenatal appointment came up. This is after CIAA. I didn't partied, and I was still exhausted. CIAA was terrible that year. That was 2018. So I was like, I don't want to go to this doctor. He was like, just go. And I said, all right, I'm going to go. So the doctor comes in, and she's like, what's wrong? And I said, I don't think I'm pregnant anymore. She's like, why do you think that? So I started telling her why. And she was like, well, we'll check it out and see. So my doctor comes in. I love her. She's a Black doctor, mm-hmm. loud, like, girl, what's going on? How you doing? Blah, blah, blah. What you talking about? You ain't pregnant no more. You don't know. You're not the doctor. Stop Googling and stuff. And I'm like, man, I just don't know. So she's like, well, we're going to go into the ultrasound room. So we go in, and she's like, well, wait, we got another person in here. And she's like, just go sit in the other room. So I'm sitting in the other room, and I'm like, God, whatever your will is, I trust you, and I believe in you. And I just kept saying, thank you, God. Something just kept telling me to say, thank you, God. Yes. So I was like, thank you, God. Thank you, God. So I'm hearing the other woman in the room like, oh my God, it's a boy, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, thank you, God. Thank you, God. Thank you, God. So I go in the room, and I lay down, and she puts the thing on my stomach, and she's like, you see that right there? That's a baby. I'm like, for real? And she's like, you need to walk by faith and not by sight.
Let's see if she's going to let me do this break without crying.
And she's like, you're 10 weeks pregnant. And this baby is going to be very energetic, and he is kicking, moving like the little legs or whatever the little was moving, and the heartbeat was like bumping like real fast. And I was like, oh my God, I'm pregnant.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, fast forward to Bella. That was my miracle baby that I thought was gone.
Oh my goodness. And she is a mini me. She looks so much like you. I just laugh every time you post something with you and Bella.
Bella is a handful of passion and determination that I can't wait to see what happens with. But, you know, even after, you know, I had her, and in my mind, I was like, okay, you know, I'm gonna bounce back. I'm ready. I'm, you know, ready to get back to work. But I went through postpartum depression, and it was really bad. And a lot of people don't know. I never told anybody really, maybe like 2 people. But I started to kind of figure out that's what it was, because I was just moody. I was crying. I was sad. I was mad. I didn't want to be bothered. I'm tired. Never knew you could be that tired with a kid. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is something new. This ain't like going to the club and coming home eating Waffle House. This is a totally different ball game out here, bro.
A little different. Yes.
And so I told my husband, and you know, and I'm thankful for Bella, because I know she brought the marriage back together. Like now we're like, just like when we were on the road, like we talk, we laugh, we joke, it's us. And I'm really thankful that God brought her in at that time, because I know he saved us. And so I went through postpartum depression, and I went back to work, and I just didn't want to be there. And I said, you know what, God, I got to get away from these feelings, because I feel like you're telling me to leave, but I don't want it to be an emotional decision at this time. I want to make sure that it's really you talking to me, and it's not just something I'm in my feelings right now.
Right.
But it was pretty bad. And that's when I started juicing, and that's when I kind of changed everything. And I told my husband, I said, look, I'm depressed, and I've been trying to cover it up and hide it, because I'm this strong woman and people expect me to be happy all the time, but I'm depressed.
Yeah.
Like, I can't do it. And I don't want to go to no doctor. I don't want to get on no pills. I just want to pray through it, and me and you figure this thing out together. And that's what we did. And, you know, my weight had went back up, and I was even depressed about that. So that's when juicing came into the picture. And once I started juicing, it like changed my entire life. It changed my mental, it changed my physical, it changed everything in my life. And that's when I started to really ask God, do you want me to leave this job? Because I feel like I'm back to myself now. It took a while, but I'm back, God. What do you need me to do? And, you know, I started to have dreams like toward the end of last year. And they were dreams of, I would be sitting at the station, and poison would be dripping on me from the ceiling.
Wow.
And I would be sitting with other people in the station, and I'm like, y'all don't see this? And they're like, no. And I'm like, it's poison dripping on me. Y'all don't see this? Wow. They're like, nah, you tripping. I'm like, no, y'all tripping. And so then I had another dream that it was a tornado happening, and we were just standing at the window, just looking at it go by, like lost. And that happened at work. Wow. And it was a fire that happened at the station. And so once I made the decision to leave, the last day of my 2-week notice, we all had to leave the building because someone had burnt something, and it was like, they thought it was a fire happening in the building.
Oh,
and
my God.
Everybody had to leave out. Like, I'm on the radio, and they're like, yo, y'all got to go. Y'all smell this smoke? And I'm like, yay! I'm like, all right, let's do this. And so, you know, I left, and ever since I left, it has been amazing. Like, oh my gosh, like even through the pandemic, like, you know, people are calling me that knew I quit my job, and they're like, are you okay? Do you need anything? I'm like, I'm good. Y'all need something? I'm good. Like, you know, I put my voiceover company has been like doing amazing with the DJs, and it's all God. And it's so many things that have been happening that I know that is God. And it's nothing that I can say. Like, one day I woke up and I hadn't got any orders for any voiceover stuff. And I said, okay, God, I'm trusting in you. I'm not going to stress it. You know, whatever I need will be supplied. And my friend Jay Tech, he texts me, and he's like, what's your Cash App? And I was like, I told him, and he was like, all right, bet. And so he sends me this money, and I'm like, bruh, how many drops do you need? It's like 100 drops. Like, what do you need this money for? He was like, God just told me to send it to you, and I'm doing it. And I'm like, I just had a conversation like with God, like telling him, I'm not gonna trip. I'm gonna trust you. Even today, this is funny. This guy hits me and he's like, I need you to do a drop for me. And I said, okay, just send me $15 or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I sent the email back, I said, I should have asked for more money.
Yeah.
And I said, nah, I ain't gonna trip. I ain't gonna worry about it. So I sent him the drop back, and he sends me an email back and says, man, I sent the wrong drop, but I'm gonna send you another $15. And I'm like, and the whole time I'm like, when I sent him the email, I said, dang, I should have charged him $25 just because he don't want to use my voice. He want to use his voice or something. And I was like, nah, I ain't even that type of person. I'll get it back. I'm not tripping. And he just messed up and was like, I got to send you another 15. So then I ended up with 30.
Wow. You know what?
Little stuff like that.
You are the poster child for what it's like to become an entrepreneur and to follow your spirit.
Mm-hmm.
I know so many people who don't start their business. They don't start a project because they don't believe that they'll be supplied. Mm-hmm. After listening and watching this, I think you're safe to say that there is at least one example in this world, which is Nikki, that you will be supplied. You know, and that's exactly how it works out. Some things have happened to me as well. So I totally resonate with your story with, you know, when you're following your path, it's dark sometimes. It's like walking through a tunnel. There's no guide, and the only light that you have is your connection with God, higher power, spirit, whatever you subscribe to, higher spirit will supply you, will show you your next steps. But if you sit there and doubt yourself the whole time, or stay in this safe, what you think is your safe space, which oftentimes is what I call false securities. So a false security could be a job, it could be a relationship, it could be whatever. It could be that house, you know. When all of that falls away, you still only have you and your connection to God or your higher power. So
and another thing that I wanted to say too is when we were on the road, I remember this preacher. He had took me and my husband out to eat, him and his wife, and he invited us to his church. And I remember he was praying for me, and this had to be in 2014. But he was praying over me, and he said, God is going to anoint your voice. And as he's saying it to me, I'm like, man, I ain't got time for all this, man. I ain't trying to hear none of that, what you talking about. I'm hungry. I'm depressed. I'm stressed out.
All you see is right now. Yes.
And yeah, exactly. But the other day, so I started my prayer line, and people are like, you really have an anointing on your voice when you pray. And I just immediately thought about him. And I called him because we still keep in contact with everybody we met on the road. And I called him, and it's been, this is like 6-7 years later. And I called him and I said, I just want you to know that what you prayed over me, I've finally seen it come to pass. And he was like, thank you for calling and telling me that today, because I needed to hear that. Like,
yeah, because when we're following, absolutely, we need to hear it, because it's like, did I do the wrong thing? Does that person think I'm nuts? You know, should I have saved it for myself? How many times have you given to someone and you didn't even have it yourself?
Right.
So so it's a real blessing when you're able to hear it back. This blessed me. This helped me. You know, this is exactly what I needed in the exact time that I needed it. I am so filled up spiritually by our conversation, because I really think it speaks to people who have that thought in their mind that this is not enough. This can't be who I am. There has to be more, and are afraid to move toward it. And you're a great example of what it feels like to move toward it. I haven't met anyone yet to say that moving is, you know, gravy in the beginning. It's usually a journey. It's usually some bumps in the road. Usually some bumps in the
It's
road, few little roller coasters, few back flips. That's all.
But I would do it all over again. Like, I'm just so filled up with God right now. Like, I love just being in his presence, and I can't really explain how it makes me feel. I just feel really good. Like, I don't know. It's almost a speechless experience. And I'm just so glad that he didn't give up on me. And I'm glad that he still used my voice, because at any point of me going back in the radio, he could have took my voice away. Anything could have happened.
Mm-hmm.
He could have, I don't know, the alcohol could have flooded out my lungs. I mean, anything could have happened to me, but I'm just really thankful that he just still saw something in me and knew that I was going to be obedient and say yes again. And
I really feel like,
say no again.
Yes, ever. I really feel like all of us have that in us. I think that we're here on this earth to walk a path. And we have two choices: to walk that path or resist the path. And those who resist it and continue to resist it, they never realize what could have been if they had followed their path. And what I mean by that is that sense of satisfaction. At least for me, I've got some years on you with hard knocks and stuff, but I'm thinking, at least for me, being filled up with God means that I'm satisfied. I want for nothing, even though there are elements in my life that are missing, areas that I am not, that I feel like I would love to see more happen with. But until that happens, I'm still satisfied. I'm still filled with light. I still have so much love in my heart to give to others. So for me, that's what it means to, follow God or follow my path. So, oh my goodness, the moment I heard,
follow God. You have to,
well, you know what, you don't, and when you don't, it gets, you just remain feeling like there's something missing. I think that's the only way I can explain it.
You're confused. You're always wondering what to do next. You never have any peace inside of what you're doing. It's always like a struggle, like you're just carrying this big weight on you.
Yes.
You're just walking up this hill in 100-degree weather, and you're just like, oh my gosh. And then it's like me, like, I've seen myself asking God, like, God, give me a break. Like, what's going on?
Yes.
Like, what is wrong? Like, I can't pull it together, but I can't pull it together because I'm not saying yes. I'm just refusing to say yes to God and what he's trying to offer me. Like, he has the best life for us. He knows everything. He created us for a purpose. And that's what I tell people, like, why worry about what's next? He already got it planned out. He knows when you're going to move, when you're going to die, how you're going to die. You might as well just live.
It is programming. It is the way that we are conditioned to understand what our life is supposed to be like. It's supposed to be linear. You graduate from high school, college, and then you get married, and then, it's linear. And I think we have a hard time when we become adults and in our 20s that it's not looking like everybody said it's supposed to look. Is there something that I'm doing? Is God mad at me? But I think it's all conditioning. And when we come to the realization that we are provided for and we really don't have control over everything that happens in our lives, that there is an element of submitting to what is, that will allow us to see what our next step is. We don't have total control. We do not. And the moment you realize that, I think some of that headache weight will be lifted. You do submit it to, I do submit it to God, to a higher power, because.
And we always want to make our plans, but they even, the Bible says we make our plans, but God's plans will prevail. So we can do whatever we want to. We can figure stuff out all day, every day, but it's not meant to be. It's not going to be. And that's what I learned. That's what I learned by being on the road. That's why I'm so thankful for that road time, because people now are like, oh my gosh, you got so much faith. I'm like, look, when you pack up your entire apartment and you living on the road from city to city, state to state, and you don't know what's going to happen, you have no choice but to come out faithful than ever. Like, I have a lot of faith. And I think that's what scares my mom about me, is she's just like, you're just different from me. Like, I don't know. Like, even my pastors, like, I've always told your mom that you are like, it's something different about you. You're not like the average person that just goes with the flow of life or how it's supposed to be. And I really love God, man. I just been like meditating and just basking in his presence and reading more. And he's been talking to me more and showing me more. It's like once I fully submitted and said yes, it's like everything changed. Like, even to what I read in the Bible matches what I'm thinking about in my meditation in the mornings. And, you know, the other morning I just kept hearing God say, thankful, thankful, thankful. And so I'm writing down what I'm thankful for. And then I just randomly turn in the Bible and it takes me to 1 Chronicles 16. And it's a whole passage about thankfulness and how to be thankful and what to say when you're thankful. It's just like little stuff like that. He just shows me every day, and it's quick. It's like real quick now. It's not waiting 2-3 months to hear from God. It's almost like a every other day type, like, hey, let's go.
Yes.
You wasted my time enough. Let's go, Nikki.
I love it. I love it. And you know, you have had a whole life, while most of us do, we just may not realize it, of synchronicities and connection to God. No matter what the behavior has been, is what I'm saying. We always know that there's just something more. And when you're feeling like there's just something more, that's really God leading you, I believe. Yeah. So the behavior catches up with where you're supposed to be. Do you agree?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You just like, you know what, God? And that's what I said. I said, you know what, God? I'm tired. I can't do it anymore. I've tried to do it my way. And every time I try to do it my way, it works for a little bit, and then it ends up going down, and I end up going down with it, and I end up going back to this pit that the devil wants to keep me in, and I am truly tired, God. Like, I can't do it no more. And that's what I told him right before I quit my job. I said, God, you know what? I don't know what's going to happen. And even after I quit my job, I was like, man, God, you could have let me work a couple more weeks because this pandemic is happening. I could have been getting a check.
Right.
Still been like not at work. I could have been voice tracking my show and been getting a little check. But I don't know if that would have happened anyway. You know, they might have let me go and just put somebody in my place to save money. And I said, you know what? I ain't worried about it. It was time to go. And I'm happy. You know, I'm doing my gospel show now on Fubu Radio. I started that last Sunday.
Wonderful. And congratulations.
I really just feel like I belong. Like, I feel like this is where I should have been the entire time. And that's what I tell people. Like, if God tells you to do something, don't doubt it. Don't try to plan it out. It's called faith, not planned out faith. Yes. You don't get to plan your faith, okay? You don't get to plan out.
I love that. You don't get to plan your faith. I love it.
Plan your faith. God ain't saying move, and everything is already set up on the other side of your obedience. Like, that's how it works. The longer you wait, the longer you're going to delay your blessing. And even sometimes, you know, I may think that sometimes I do have wonders like, man, if I wouldn't have came to Charlotte, would it have been different, or would I have stepped into my purpose a long time ago? But, you know, sometimes you have to, you know, do it your way to see how miserable it is to get to God's way. And, you know, sometimes he's preparing you in the process, and sometimes you hold up your own blessing just because you're scared.
I think it's growth. I think it is spiritual growth. Like I said, things aren't linear. You know, success is that. Yes, it's that. And that's when you realize that you can be guided when you surrender, because you don't know what the next turn is going to be. So for those who don't even believe in God, that's fine too. We all have a path. We still have a spiritual path. We still do. Yeah. There is still spiritual growth in there. So I am just so grateful for you being so honest and candid about your past, because what I have drawn from it is you know, like I said, those entrepreneurs out there, those people who are thinking about, you know, a project that's in their hearts to do, and they're afraid to do it because they don't know how it's going to look, you survive. That's how it's going to look. You survive and you
Yeah, you
move on to the
survive
next
and you
step.
grow and you learn. And I believe everything has an appointed time. So I'm really excited about this year because this will be 7 years since 2013, since, you know, I've been hearing from God and taking steps. I'm like, this is a completion year. Like, I'm
It
excited. Like,
is.
I don't, you know, I'm in a different space mentally. And even before, like when I wanted to talk about God on my Instagram, I'm like, man, nobody trying to hear me talk about God. And I'm over here on a hip hop station telling people to kill each other. Like, and it
Yes.
always bothered me. It just always like, it really bothered my soul. Like so many times when I would listen to the music that I was playing, and then I'm trying to come home and pray. It's hard to pray when you just finished playing what you've been playing and promoting what you've been promoting. It's like I work for the devil all day on the radio, and then I come home and talk to God for 10 minutes.
Well, like I said, the behavior catches up with where you're supposed to be. And I felt that way as well. I remember distinctly being on air and just being flooded with the thoughts that this is too small. It's too small, just spiritually, too small.
Yeah.
And you know, we weave in and out of radio, and we find different ways to express our creativity and our platform by being who we are spiritually. So there are ways to marry it and mix and mingle it. But coming off of the radio to do what your purpose is, I just commend you for it. I commend you for listening to yourself, because we all, like Wayne Dyer says, we all have a song within us. Do not die with your song still left in you.
Yes.
Isn't that, it's chilling every time I say that quote. It brings chills throughout my spine, because nobody can live your life. You're going to have to figure it out on your own. Figure out your own light and your own path. Yeah. Oh my goodness, Nikki. Well, I thank you so much. I will tell you that we have Black Women in Radio. We have Black Women International for radio professionals that are, you know, worldwide. And we also have Black Women Internet Radio. So I will be following you on Black Women Internet Radio as well as Black Women in Radio.
I love what you do. I do. I love it. I was like, who is this lady? Like, who is the face behind this? I need to because you show so much love to radio people. And I think that's a beautiful thing, because a lot of times in radio, we get discouraged, especially when we see people getting jobs or getting syndicated, and we're still in this little market, or, you know, we feel like we're putting our all in and we're not getting the money. So I thank you for what you do for just showing love to radio personalities, Black women radio personalities all over.
Well, I appreciate that. I feel like that's my calling as well, because it wasn't something that I woke up one day and said, you know, I'm going to become rich by doing this. No, that wasn't it. That was another thing. That wasn't Black Women in Radio. But I am so grateful. And just like you, there were so many steps along the way, taking baby steps along the way to see how this thing was going to flourish. And I mean, I'm in awe. I'm in awe that God put me in a place where I can touch lives and not even meet them. It's crazy. I'll tell you a dream that I had. I dreamt that I was on this hill, and there were tons and tons of people around. It's like almost like a park. And I was praying to God in this dream, what is it that you want me to do? And the message that I got is that they're waiting for you. And I carried on, they're waiting for me to do what? Nice. They're waiting for you. Waiting for me to do what? So I'm dealing with my own personal stuff along the way, you know, and digging my depression holes and all of that stuff. And I still hear this, they're waiting for you. They're waiting for you. They're waiting for you. And so now I have an opportunity to see what God had been talking about. Wow.
Yeah, I know, right? Once you say yes and everything, you're like, oh my gosh, I've been missing out on all of this for so many years. Like, let's go, God. It's go time now. Like, no more time to wait. Like, we just got to go. We got to do it. Because when I was in Raleigh, I was having crazy dreams about radio and just, oh my gosh. Like, I looked through some of my dreams because I keep all my journals and I'm like.
I keep a dream book too. I do
too. Girl.
For me, that connects me to God as well. It connects me to spirit, because often I can look back on it and I'm like, oh my goodness, this really happened. If I dream about a tornado, I'm moving every time, hands down. Tornadoes swirling around in my dream, I'm moving.
And it was so funny because when I had that dream about the tornado, I was on Instagram. I was about to go into work and I was on Instagram and I'm looking at the lady that works a couple doors down from me on the R&B station. And she's doing an Instagram video and she was like, do y'all see this wind? It's like literally a tornado in front of the window. I'm like, no way. Like, this is not like happening right now. And I was like so scared to go to work that day. Even the day that I quit, I said, God, I'm going to quit today. If this is meant to be, I need a sign. Because, you still want, like, you hear them, but you still like, okay, God, just give me one more. Just one more little sign.
I know, because it's fear. It's like, you should know.
Yeah. So that day, I'm on the phone with a friend, and I'm looking out the window, and I'm like, is it raining? And she was like, I don't know. I said, it's snowing. And she was like, snowing? It's not supposed to snow today. And I'm like, see, I need to go to work. I got to go. Like, it was, and I'm on the phone with her and I'm like, let me look at the weather. And I'm like, okay, there is no snow anywhere in this forecast today. Wow. And I'm like, you know what? I got to go. Plus I saw 2 red birds. Red birds are my thing to know that I'm on the right path.
Oh my goodness. I have been seeing a lot of red birds lately. Blue jays are mine. Blue jays are mine as well. I had a
Blue jays mean joy.
Incredible spiritual experience with blue jays, like 4 of them just flying around my car, and they just kept dancing after meditating, by the way. And I was just floored. This is the first time I've ever told anybody that. Oh my goodness. But yeah.
Wow. I'm big on like animals and stuff and what they mean and the symbolism behind them. Because I believe, animals carry messages from God too.
Absolutely. All of nature does.
They trust God more than we do.
They understand that you will be supplied for.
Yeah,
we're supposed to be the smart ones, right?
Exactly.
Well, with everyone, I asked them to do word of association. So would you play this game with me?
Okay, let's go.
All right, here we go. For you, fruits or vegetables?
Fruits.
I have R&B or hip hop.
R&B.
Let's see. Religious or spiritual?
Spiritual.
Beach or mountains?
Ooh, I gotta say beach.
Radio, TV, or theater?
Radio.
Okay, this has to do with our natural or fake. Eyelashes or nails? Natural.
Nails.
Nails. I know. I
need my manicure so bad.
Ain't no bad. No kidding.
Yeah.
And one more. Heels or flip-flops?
Flip-flops.
I love it. I love it. Well, I tell you what, I will be following you, and I want to invite you back to talk about, anything you have coming up. Please just let me know. This platform is for all of us. It's for you. So, I want to follow your growth, and that little Bella, she is so cute.
Right now, $44.99 a month each for internet and TV. Now, as a mom, I love that they have super fast internet speeds because I have to do everything super fast when Bella finally goes to sleep. And Bella loves the TV packages that Spectrum has to offer. Elmo, she's obsessed. So look, all the channels that she loves, that I love, that the whole family loves. BET, Bravo, ESPN, FS1. Do you hear the excitement in her voice? Plus, more free HD than satellite and more free on demand. What are you waiting for?
So
You're already
precious.
stuck in a contract.
And
I was hoping she was going to be on the Zoom with me because normally she doesn't take her nap until like 2, but Shorty was up this morning at 6. So by like 12, she was full thing was out. I was like, whoo, go to bed.
yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And uninterrupted interview too.
Yes.
That's so funny, but she would have been a joy to see. I love Bella. I love Bella. She's adorable. So thank you so much. I wish all the best to you and your family, and much success. And, welcome to the world of elevation spiritually, because it is time to stop doing the same thing over and over again, generational cycles. And it's like, you want to ask people, didn't you just do that? Didn't your family just do that? Don't you think we should try something different to improve the
y'all
world?
Don't want to do nothing different than work and get a 401k and die? Like,
maybe get a 401k, die at work, too depressed to go to work. I'll never forget. I worked as a wellness coach at one of the colleges here in Atlanta. And I will never forget, I thought it's the first time I'd ever had an anxiety attack. It does feel like you're having a heart attack. So I went to Piedmont during my lunch break, mind you, to get checked out. As it turned out, anxiety. And then they prescribed Xanax. And I said, now how does that work? I'm going to teach wellness and take Xanax. I don't think so. That was my cue to come off that job. I was like, we're not getting ready to do that. Yeah. So, but thank you so much. And I wish you all the best. God bless you.
Thank you. Bless you too. Good to see you. Put a face with the page. Thank you so much for what you do.
Oh, thanks so much. And I'll look forward to talking to you soon.
Power 98, thank you. To everyone, thank you. To all my family here, thank you. I love you, and we out.
Be careful as you exit your VIP seats. They will be waiting for you next Wednesday when we talk to Courtney Hicks. Make sure you subscribe to Black Women in Radio podcast on all social media, and check out our website at www.blackwomeninradio.com.
Here we go!
Talking to radio people because they just get it. We just get it. We have our own vernacular, we have our own language, we just get it. Because my business partner at the time, I was doing like webinars on how to get into radio and all these different things and trying to figure out who I am in this space, not having a radio station to go to, still trying to get into television, doing a little bit of television, trying to figure out where I was. Always cool with everybody. And, they try to pit us against each other, which I hate. I just believe that for those of us who are still breathing and living, we have to now truly live on purpose.